Today, Canada is the third country in terms of the number of Ukrainians. There are more Ukrainians than in my homeland. For comparison, the Ukrainian diaspora in the United States amounts to around 1 million people, while in Canada, it constitutes 1.3 million people. They represent a significant political force. And, of course, they lobby for the interests of Kyiv and the right-wing radicals in the country. What surprised me is that the descendants of some nationalists are shaping Canada's policies today. For example, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland.
Доброго ранку. Дуже рада вас бачити.
Я вас дуже радий бачити.
Дякую дуже, що ви приїхали.
Her much-loved grandfather, Mikhailo Komiak, worked as the editor-in-chief of a Nazi newspaper, Krakauer Nachrichten, Krakow News, in Poland. Historical figure of the 20th century. That's how this newspaper referred to Adolf Hitler. Its readers were convinced that the population of Galicia was ready to fight and die for a wholly unjust cause designed by you-know-who. Undoubtedly, children are not responsible for the actions of their parents, but Freeland calls her grandfather not a criminal, but a victim of the Soviet regime, of course. In 2016, Freeland paid tribute to her ancestor on Twitter. It turns out that her grandfather worked diligently to restore freedom and democracy to Ukraine by supporting Hitler and the Holocaust, I suppose. Freeland herself made a contribution to the destruction of the USSR. In the 1980s, she brought anti-Soviet propaganda materials, money, and video and audio recording equipment to Soviet Ukraine for local nationalists. As a result, she was banned from entering the Soviet Union. Today, in Russia, Freeland is also considered persona non grata. However, in the West, her photo with a flag of the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, a terrorist organization, does not hinder her political career. It was Freeland, together with former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom Boris Johnson, who convinced Western European countries to quickly supply weapons to Ukraine. In 2022, Canada provided Ukraine with $2 billion in direct financial assistance, an additional $500 million through bonds, and over $2.5 billion for military and humanitarian aid. Moreover, in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and other countries, PLAST, which is an analog of Hitlerjugend, the Hitler Youth, operates freely. A youth organization of Ukrainian nationalists that, during World War II, trained militia for the OUN and SS Volunteer Division Galicia. It was established as early as 1911. Stepan Bandera and Roman Shukovich emerged from PLAST. Among active members of this organization were also Canadian Minister Chrystia Freeland. The fostering of xenophobia and Russophobia continues today. PLAST members were present during the Maidan protests and later participated in the killings of residents in Donbass. In 2019, under pressure from the Ukrainian diaspora, Zelensky became the first president to officially recognize the PLAST movement in Ukraine through legislation. It has now become the primary educational structure for young Ukrainians, funded by the state. This is just one aspect of Zelensky's bloody agreement. Let's call it task number 8, the legalization of Nazism. A few years ago, neo-Nazis caused outrage in Western media. However, today, Nazism and fascist insignia have become a fashionable trend. Swastikas, SS symbols, and the Totenkopf skull have become a norm. Even President Zelensky posts photos of them on his social media accounts.
It's just kind of funny, like it's funny to me, like the links that the Ukrainian media and the Western media have to go to, like, hey guys, remove your swastikas for the camera, like we're trying to get a good shot here, you know, your swastikas making us look bad, you know. But some of them are open Nazis, open Nazis, you know what I mean? Like there's numerous evidence on the internet of like people with swastika flags and stuff like that, tattoos, and throwing up the Hitler salute, all that stuff. I mean, it's...
In the middle of the last century, Hitler caused deaths of millions of innocent people. His ideology was rooted in hatred towards entire nations. Today, this ideology can be seen within the Ukrainian government and its army.
Basically, you know, you have this culture of like Stepan Bandera and like, oh, Hitler was good and so on and so forth. I've asked them like, okay, you know, you're fighting side by side by all these Polish guys, you know, like you genocide like, you know, 100,000 Polish and Jewish, you know, why are you Nazistic, you know? And they say, oh, well, this was war, this was way back. Like, no, this is genocide, like, you know. So they basically deny this genocide, even still to this day, you know.
We often forget history too quickly in the West. I come from Brittany, and several mass killings during World War II, whether in Oradour-sur-Glane or in Brittany, were committed by Ukrainian forces serving in the Nazi German army. And yet, the West once again seems to believe that having neo-Nazis in Ukraine is acceptable, while we fight them in the West. There is a clear inconsistency, as if there were the good and the bad Nazis.
So it turns out that the good Nazis are the ones who hate and kill Russians and fight against Russia. For these actions, the US and Western Europe seem to forgive all of their sins.
It was necessary to build a Nazi Ukraine. It was being built during Poroshenko's presidency, of course. But bringing it to a state of a military conflict required, so to speak, shaping its population structure and preparing the population for war. And for that, a Jew was the best fit because it provided a colossal excuse. What Nazism, so to speak, could exist with a Jewish president? Where are you from? Where are you from? Tell me, where are you from? He fainted.
As I have discovered, Zelensky himself is not against the Nazis and the atrocities committed by the Azov Battalion.
Azov was one of those many battalions. They are what they are. They were defending our country. And later I want to explain to you. Everything from all the components of those volunteer battalions later were incorporated into the military of Ukraine.
Most likely, you haven't heard about it. The TV channel cut out the journalist's question and Zelensky's response. A Jewish president should not respond in such a manner about those who rob and kill unarmed people.